With modern fuel alternatives now becoming one of the major market leaders in the automotive industry, it's no wonder that new companies are popping up all over the world. From cheaper alternative transport coming from countries like Korea and Japan, to hybrids and full electrics from the US, the number of companies producing vehicles is larger than ever. And with a few of the bigger players suffering in the current economic climate, there's plenty of room for more. While many of these companies may be new and exciting, very few sport a heritage even close to that of the manufacturer we're looking at today. Triumph have been around a long time indeed. Though the history is a little muddy, with several companies breaking apart and merging, the real starting point of the motorized side of the business is very clear, with the first ever Triumph motorcycle leaving the early 20th century version of a production line in 1902. Thanks to almost 2 decades of previous work building Triumph into a successful bicycle manufacturing company, they were well equipped to cater to the large demand their bike quickly picked up. And by just 1 year later in 1903, they had sold over 500 of their Belgian Minerva engine-powered bikes. Over the next few years, the company expanded rapidly, and between 1905 and 1907 began introducing their own designs of motorcycles for the first time, instead of working from blueprints from other manufacturers. World War I gave another boost to Triumph, as they were commissioned to produce 30,000 motorcycles for the British war effort, some of which were Model H Roadsters, nicknamed the Trusty Triumph, and considered by many to be the first true modern motorcycle. After the war, Triumph went from strength to strength, expanding and diversifying their industry, as well as scaling up production, so that by the mid-1920s they were one of Britain's top motorcycle manufacturers with a 500,000 square foot production facility, able to build up to 30,000 motorcycles a year. Unfortunately for Triumph, the company didn't fare so well in the following decade, as the Great Depression saw several assets of theirs file for bankruptcy or dissolve. Even the original bicycling manufacture division didn't survive. However, the motorcycle side of the business, which had since its inception been the business's strong point, soldiered on, opening up new markets in America which would later become its greatest revenue stream. This was under the new management of Jack Sangster, who also owned rival motorbike company Ariel and had purchased Triumph in 1936. He went on to form Triumph Engineering Company Limited, along with several ex-Ariel employees, including the now legendary Edward Turner, who would end up designing almost all Triumph twin engines all the way until 1980. World War II again saw production work fall in Triumph's lap, but their manufacturing facility was severely damaged during bombing raids and had to be relocated before work could continue. Over the next few decades, the company prospered under reasonably careful management and the clever designs of Ed Turner. They made the transition to unit-designed motorcycles in 1963, which saw all of their bikes housing the gearbox and engine in one casing, often with a shared oil reservoir. Interestingly, however, Triumph's rapid expansion through export revenue would eventually be a big contributor to the company coming apart briefly in the 1970s. The Japanese technological advancements at the time had moved ahead much faster than the more traditional British motorcycle manufacturer, and they just couldn't keep up. This, combined with the Japanese long-term tactic of deliberately playing to competitors' weaknesses to attempt to push them from the market, caused big problems for Triumph. That said, the high-end bike market was often considered safe by those in power at Triumph, thanks to their dominance in that field. But when the first 750cc Honda bike was made available in the early 1970s, the company was in deep trouble. Throughout the rest of the 70s, the company was purchased and repurchased by several groups, none of whom were able to make the brand work the way it should, despite a slight resurgence in 1978. It wasn't until 1983 that things really turned around, when the company was going into receivership and was bought by self-made man John Bloor, who wanted to maintain the iconic brand. The company produced repair parts for bikes still doing the rounds in the second-hand market, before finally delivering a new range of motorcycles to the public in the early 90s. Since then, Triumph has produced many new motorbikes, often reviving the model names of the past, and has continued the styling and spirit of the Triumph name into the 21st century. Which brings us neatly to our first bike in Triumph's 2010 lineup, as well as the first in today's program, the Speed Triple.